Oh, Game Chasers. Okay. Yeah, mine's just Old Bayou Billy. All right, welcome to episode 189 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again this week, Steven.
Good day.
And the mystery person here now is Chris.
Good evening.
Chase wasn't feeling too great, so he is sitting this one out. Hopefully he'll get to feeling better, and we will have him back again on our next episode. But today we're going to have a bit of a smaller one, because I know last week was a 3+ hour episode. Appreciate the people that actually sat through and watched that. We had a few of them. And I went through and pulled a couple of shorts from those and put it in. We actually had one of them have over 1,000 views, which that was a first.
Was that Stardew Valley?
No, actually, that one got such a back and forth mix of likes and dislikes.
I don't know what they wanted out of us.
It's so funny.
How dare you guys not play it? Oh.
I don't know if it was the crack joke that we did, because we're like, yes, we want to go back into drugs. But no, it was the announcement of the Metroid Prime release date. But I had never seen before, when I pulled it up on my phone, it actually like had confetti rain down, go like, your video got over 1,000 views. I was like, that's new. I've never seen that before. So I'm trying to do more of the shorts, but those things, God, it takes so much time to go through and dig those out and kind of edit them through. But I'm going to try and go back and do some more of them, but we'll see. But this week, it's a much lighter episode. We're just going to have a few things to talk about, just kind of keep this gratefully short, because I still have to charge up and set up a bunch of my camera equipment for my wife's concert tomorrow, so I can go and record that, take photos, and get audio recording. But we'll jump into what we've been doing. And with that, Chris, you haven't been on here in a while, so what you been doing? You should have a lot to tell us.
Well, I just came back from a family trip, so I'm catching up on that. Just cleaning up after everything that I left over, and been playing UFO 50. I finally managed to beat 2 games out of 50. They're very difficult. They're Nintendo hard. I've been learning to play Riichi Mahjong, Shogi, and Backgammon, because I never learned how to play Backgammon properly in Clubhouse games. And I've been playing the Black Sand game, which is it's a quick time event detective game. So I've already died 3 times during the tutorial because the detective punched a rhino in the horn, and then the rhino used the horn to, gash the guy and then throw him out a window. So yes, if you're not really quick, you die.
Oh man, is that the one that has like a humanoid black cat in a trench coat in the cover?
Yes, it's
they're all
anthropomorphic animals. So the rhino is not a zoo rhino. It's actually a rhino that's upset because he was a bodyguard that you've been taking pictures of because he was seen cheating on his wife.
Nice. I will have to look into that one.
It's pretty cool, and it is on sale. So at least it was at the time of this recording. So definitely check some of these sales out. That's how I found out.
Okay, I'd have to look, because like I said, I know that one has a physical copy. I've seen it, but I don't remember if I ever picked it up out of curiosity. But
yeah, it got a pretty good, at least walking around, I got a pretty good like Switch upgrade for frame rate and stuff too.
Yeah, I think that's why I skipped down it before, because I had seen like it was running terribly, and then now I'm kind of like wanting to find it.
They said it runs pretty good on Switch 2. The graphics, took a slight bump up, but the frame rate is where it excelled. So
I think that's the priority.
Pretty fine as is now. So
yeah, that's good.
What are you playing it on? Switch 1 or Switch 2?
Switch 2, if only because now everything that I buy will be on Switch 2 as long as it's Switch 1 compatible.
Well, now that I know you're playing Clubhouse games, we need to get on there and play some stuff together, because I absolutely love that title.
Nice.
So we could hop on there for game chat, actually use it, and play some games.
Oh boy.
Hey, I like it. We can at least talk while we're playing. All right, Steven, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I decided to try out ZZZ for the 100th millionth time. I'm this close to spending
every time's
more
like
money.
A new start over.
I'm this close to spending more money because I need to get a character and I'm running out of time. So we'll see how that goes. But then I decided I'm gonna play a game on each of the consoles until the controller gives up on me, like runs out of battery. So On PS5, I played Sniper Elite Resistance because I had already beaten it on Xbox, and I just wanted something I could just lay back and just mindlessly just go around and a nice quiet game with some testicles being shot. And then I played Outer Worlds, getting ready for Outer Worlds 2. Kind of enjoying that just because I changed around my class points and stuff in the beginning, so I, as well as having more dialogue options because I'm smart and because I have engineering and medical background, I made sure I'm dumb too, so I say the dumbest things if possible.
I need to go back and do that because I had started a round where I made my character as absolutely dumb as I could get him to the point you can't read. Like I loved that you could do that.
But I thought it was funny that sometimes like this is not a dig to you. This is the game that did it, not me.
Right.
Is that a dumb answer and an engineering answer were grouped together? That if you pick this, it's dumb and it's engineering. And it was basically just me saying like, "Why don't you fix it?" And they're like, "Oh yeah."
That's great.
So that was good. I'm trying to play just how I would play it. So if I feel I don't like what somebody's doing, I just turn them in. If I like a person, I'll do whatever they ask, stuff like that. So that's been fun. And then lastly, I've been playing Shinobi Art of Vengeance. That one's going really well. Lizard Cube does it again. It's very addictive. It's definitely scratching the Metroidvania itch, especially since you have to go back and revisit stages when you get new abilities. Fun fact: even though all you hear is and the voice of Joe Musashi is the same voice who sang Daytona USA. So they got top talent, but you're never going to hear him sing. I guess, hopefully, maybe in the credits. But
that's funny. I mean, hey, work is work. At least he's getting a paid job. So
yeah, no game over. Yeah,
can't argue with that. All right, so for myself, I have spent most of my time. We've talked about this before, and I rebuilt my Zune. So I actually have this working now. So as you can see on camera here, it's working Zune, my original one. Modified it with a 120 gig SSD drive from the original mechanical drive. Replaced the battery, kind of fixed a lot of that stuff up, reloaded the software, updated drivers, all that. So it works. And one thing I have to do now is take a look at why the touchpad's acting up. It's very sporadic, which I'm hoping is just a disconnection point, but it still plays, sounds really good. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I've got that one fixed. My major issue ended up being the ribbon cable between the motherboard and the SSD itself is notorious for breaking sometimes. And I think after I'd got it working, the drive had slipped and it tweaked it a little bit, and that snapped one of the lines, and that's why it wouldn't work again. So I had to order a couple of ribbons from someone else who was making them, and that ended up working to replace it. So, and right now it's loaded with nothing but video game music. It's kind of like my fun little just the player for that. So I've been greatly enjoying it, walking around with actual wired headphones, which confuses children as to why it's not Bluetooth. And of course, I always hear that, well, can't you just listen to music on your phone? And I was like, that's not the point of why I did it. Part of it's just because I wanted to see if I could, just to bring it back. Because this thing was like 2006. So this is tech from almost 20 years ago. God, I feel old now. It's been a while. So, Amanda and I have been watching Alien Earth, which now we have the final episode coming up next week. Which I was initially concerned about this one because the director was making some comments wanting to change some of the alien lore and things like that. And after watching the first 5 episodes so far, or actually just watching even just the first couple of them, it's gotten only better. All of those concerns are assuaded. It's been masterfully done. I'm wondering what's going on with it, the twists and so forth. Like next week, or at least next Tuesday, is going to be absolutely crazy for whatever happens. And if they wrap it all up and there's no second season, I would be content. But because you don't really see the planet Earth in the Alien franchise, I think they've got a lot of room to possibly do a future season or so. and they've kind of hinted at wanting to do that. So I really hope they do, because we could see some stuff. And I like the fact that the alien, the actual xenomorph, is not the main issue. There's other new species and new things that were brought in that have become kind of the problem that everyone's having to deal with. The xenomorph is just kind of part of it. So it feels much, much better about that. And there's even an episode earlier that's kind of like a mini movie of Alien, like a whole kind of new version of that, which was really good. So if you're any fan of the Alien series, I highly, highly recommend it. Catch up before next Tuesday. That way you can watch it and enjoy it. And then speaking of other good shows that we've been liking, Peacemaker season 2. We're 5 episodes in on that, which has been kind of crazy.
I gotta start that.
You do, especially before next week, because next week they said there's so many twists and so many things that are affecting the rest of the DCU that they will not send out screeners for that episode. They're not letting anybody see it until it airs for everyone, because they were like, this next episode is the one where everything goes batshit crazy. James Gunn did say that this series, when it ends, directly sets up and leads into the next Superman movie. So it actually ties into that, which some people gave him criticism, and I kind of want to get y'all's thought on this, because Superman is it was a really good movie. I watched it again yesterday, now that it's available for streaming on HBO, before I get the 4K later next week, I think, when it comes out. Watched it again, absolutely loved it. My kids, Jennifer loves it. But then Peacemaker, tying so much into it, is not for children at all. There's an entire scene full of completely naked people, and you're going to see the junk front and back, guys, girls, everyone, multiple times. Lots of blood and gore. And then that's leading into the next Superman movie, which is another family one. And some people are complaining that shouldn't be connected because it's not family friendly. But I have a feeling they're going to at least, it'll reference, but not be required. But what do you think about it tying in with like mature stuff for that?
Works
DC?
for Deadpool.
No kidding. Chris, any thoughts on that one?
I think it depends on how severe it is. If it's just like a little callback, or even just like a sign, that's not that big a deal. If it's something you have to watch in order to understand the movie, like many Disney things are, then that's a little much.
Yeah, and this one's not going to be Disney. This is DC, so that's going to be Warner Brothers. So it depends on who owns them at that point with everything else going on. So, all right, well, we'll go ahead, jump from there, and hit up the group chat for a bit of a weird one that Steven kind of started me on today. So this one's not so much what we've been playing, but it's a video Steven sent me that has become absolutely enthralling. I'm not done with it yet. I started watching it, and I have made it. I'm on day 9, just about 2 hours in.
Chris, you need to watch it too. Go to What Are You Watching on Discord and check it out.
Oh my God.
Oh, is
so
this what I think it is?
This is called 1,000 Players Simulate Civilization, Rich and Poor,
yeah.
by the YouTuber Ish, ISH. I'd never heard of the guy before.
Same.
And I enjoy a lot of Minecraft stuff, but wasn't sure what this is. I don't normally watch Minecraft videos other than like maybe tutorials or stuff for things. But
my wife got me into it. She's like, "Do you watch Minecraft videos?" I was like, "Not really." She's like, "You should try this one." Okay.
Tell her thank you, because this is amazing.
I was like, what happens next?
Yeah, I've subscribed to this guy. I'm like, you know what? I'm intrigued. I'm in. So basically, he sets up 1,000 people on 2 different islands, Island 1 and Island 2. And everyone on Island 1 is like a desolate, Island 2, sorry, is a desolate wasteland. Island 1, I think, is the one that's all lush and green and has all the supplies. And it's one of those two. It's one or the other. And everybody is separated by this invisible barrier, or semi-visible barrier.
For 7 days.
For 7 straight days. And they're trying to see how they go. And once you die, you're dead permanently, which is hilarious how people die, especially on the first day when they find out one of them is surrounded by it's got this big volcano that's causing the water to boil. So they lost a bunch of people, not realizing jumping into water would kill them by boiling them alive. Or digging down too far and finding this giant lava layer or all this other stuff. But what's so intriguing about it is the way everybody kind of tries to build civilizations and encampments, and you've got people becoming leaders or dictators or kings, and trying to make
People who do
alliances.
businesses, you have different civilizations where they just want to chill.
Oh, the whole thing with the cooks, like the rat guy is hilarious. Who making a restaurant to feed people, and then like all what happens between him and other people trying to start restaurants. And I don't want to spoil too much because Chris hasn't seen it and others need to watch this. But like I said, it's
get some popcorn, set aside 2 hours, and
2.5 hours. Yeah,
walk by your screen when you watch this is going to sit down and watch the whole thing because it's that addicting that you're just like, I really need to know where this goes.
All I'm gonna say, they did Saporata dirty. Like what happened to him, I was like, oh, that's just wrong. I haven't found his final fate. I'm talking about something earlier, but yeah, I'm intrigued as much as I am watching these other shows. This has completely just enwrapped me in.
I was like, this is like Game of Thrones for gamers. This is perfect. I was like, oh geez.
And that's how it plays out. I love the fact, I guess Ish goes around the world kind of like as a invisible god. He can just kind of do whatever he wants. And
he's like the Watcher. He finds out everything, but he's just like, oh, okay.
And he can mess with things to do it. Like they had a bunch of people like worshiping him and asked him like, can we have him like spawn us a mushroom? Like we just want one animal over here. And he's like, all right, give me a puffer fish in like 60 seconds and I'll do it. And they managed to get one and throw it at his feet. So he's like, okay, he just made one.
And then they're like, oh, hail the mushroom cow.
You hear one guy, kill it, we can get leather. They're like, no. Because you can hear everyone talking too, which is really funny. But so there's text chat and voice chat, which makes it really interesting because everybody can hear everybody, but text chat can be whispers. And, you've got conspiracies, there's murders, there's assassinations, there's all kinds of stuff.
There's love. There's a wedding.
Yeah. Really there's weird one for
there's
that
fourth wall breaking. There's all kinds of funny stuff. It's great.
And then like Ish goes around like interviewing like what happened or getting video of stuff, and it's just
he does like the angles and he's like day 5 stuff like that. So,
yeah,
it's good.
This is absolutely amazing, and you need to watch it. Like I just put it on thinking like, well, this will be something I can listen to while I'm working to set up the show.
You kept looking up and you're just like, what's gonna happen now?
Yeah, the notes stopped for a while, and I just kept watching it. Then I paused it, go make dinner, came back. I'm sitting there eating lasagna while watching it, and I was going through it and realized, oh shit, we're supposed to start the show soon. So I had to stop it, pause it. It's still waiting there, so that we can actually do the show.
Speaking of lasagna, why is it that if you put a pizza on another pizza, you have 2 pizzas, but if you put a lasagna on top of a lasagna, you just have more lasagna?
Is this about that pizza lasagna you found at Costco?
No, it was 2 people talking, and it was like one of those shower thoughts. And he's just like, you if you put lasagna on top of lasagna, you just still have one lasagna.
If you put a pizza on top of a pizza, you just have a double-decker pizza. It's still a pizza. And there are some kind of pizzas where people will make 2 of them, put them on top of each other, and kind of seal it in.
Yeah,
but at that point, is it a pizza or is it a calzone?
Pizzas and then put them on top of each other, you just have 2 pizzas.
Yeah, but is it a pizza or a calzone at that point?
That's if
once you've enclosed it in the crust.
Once you fold it and enclose it, it'll be a calzone.
Or is it just the weirdest pie ever? Which, I mean, people call pizza pie sometimes.
There's a place up in Connecticut, or at least upstate New York, that takes a full pizza and folds it in on itself, and then they call it a stromboli.
Okay.
So
I think I've heard that term before. Never thought we would just start debating about pizzas and lasagnas, so that's great.
Well, you said lasagna, so you brought it up.
I did. That's all on me. So, all right, let's go over to our first bit of news for today. All right, so Microsoft, in their ever-growing idiocracy, I would say, in the world of gaming, has announced another price increase for their consoles and US accessories. This is not even 6 months after the last price increase. So the Series S is now from $379 to $399, which I think was around the launch price of the Series X when it came out. The Series S was supposed to be the cheap one. Series X has gone from $599 to $649. The Series X digital, that's no disk drive, $549 to $599. And then the 2 terabyte Series X, which is the Galactic version, or the Galaxy version, which is what I have. And I'm really glad I bought it when I did. It has gone from $729 to $799. I love my Series X, but there's no way that thing is worth $800 freaking dollars.
Remember when Series S was like $250?
Yeah, it was only,
holidays.
because that was the whole thing. Like, oh, you can get a Series S and get all these games. And it's like $50 more than a Switch. Nope, I think it's like a good $100 more than a Switch now. Like it's stupid. So Amanda pointed out randomly, because she pays for our yearly Microsoft Office stuff that we use, that went up surprisingly not too long ago, another $40. Just out of the blue, they increased the price of it $40.
And that makes no sense because that's digital.
Yeah, it's access to Office. Like I use it at work.
Like we don't have the parts. It's like
it's there. So I think all of this is kind of related because leaks have been coming out stating Xbox's parent company, Microsoft, has been pushing for more game cancellations, studio closures, and layoffs as a mean to funnel more and more money straight into AI development, and have pushed 100% requirement on developers to have to use AI while developing anything, be it code, art, music, anything. Like they're required to have used AI to help or process it. The worst example of this, I think we talked about before, but I wanted to bring it up again. Developer King had a team develop an AI tool that they were asked to make that they were then laid off and replaced with. So they had to develop the AI tool that replaced them themselves. And I think if that is actually true, it reframes what's been going on with Xbox, that I'm kind of thinking Phil Spencer has been pushing back against this, trying not to let it happen. But Microsoft has become so rabid with AI that they're thinking of this short-term gain and completely killing off parts of their company just to funnel more and more into this. And when AI finally bursts, I kind of wonder if we're going to see the end of Microsoft. Like because they're putting so much into it, do you think this could eventually kill them when it collapses?
I don't think we're going to see the end of Microsoft, but we could see the Dreamcast of Xbox.
I could see that. Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
It reeks of desperation. The more people talk about a bubble bursting, that's just money down the drain, and no big corporation wants that. So clearly they're just trying to either fight it or pretend it's not happening.
Yep. Because it makes you wonder, because like this whole year we've talked about, crazy layoffs happening at Xbox and cancellation of games that were doing really well, or, and all this stuff. And we were very confused as to why they're doing these things, like such dumb decisions. And it kind of puts it in that new light that Microsoft just cutting off every little bit to funnel more and more like an addiction. They have to have all this AI stuff that most of us don't want. I am still working to try and shut off all the stupid AI stuff on my computers because I want nothing to do with it. And I just, God, it's driving me.
Have you seen
mad.
that they added AI Copilot to Notepad?
Yeah, it's freaking annoying. Like I don't need your damn AI and me thinking it, just because I use Notepad just to type up quick notes while I'm doing show edits. Or if I just have random ideas and stuff, I'll either use that or OneNote. And
so, keeping some things confidential, our where I work, we have a lot of AI that they're letting us use. Like they're giving us the subscriptions for free and stuff like that. And I got an email and saying like, you haven't used your Chat GPT in a while. If you don't use it in 30 days, we'll deactivate it. And I was like, well, I'm that kind of guy that wants to keep it activated, but I don't really want to use it. So I was like, fine, I'll go in. I'm going to ask it one question. And I was just like, how much water does AI use and waste? And it listed all of it. I just cut and pasted into our coworkers group where we all don't like it. We don't like how AI functions and stuff. And we just got to laugh at that because I was like, if I'm going to ask it anything, I'll be like, how horrible are you? There's this new thing, though. that somebody was trying out. I watched I follow this one YouTuber. She tries out different kitchen gadgets and she dispels myths and stuff like that.
Right.
And she was talking about AI, and she said, "I once asked it where is the closest like Dunkin' Donuts or something like that." Um, she lives in the UK, and she asked for a store, and they were like, "Oh, there's these three. This one's the closest." And then she's like, "What did you get wrong in your answer?" And it was like, "I actually didn't give you the closest store." Because she said 58% of kids 9 to 12 years old are using AI and taking it as fact, whatever they say. And there's people are starting to make little cartoons and poems to be like, they're going to get it wrong. So they're like, it's time to teach your kids. They're going to get it wrong.
Which is terrifying. I'm kind of glad my kids were old enough not to rely on that to learn things. And we've talked before, AI has functions that are good.
Yeah.
My favorite is still the one of using it for real-time translation. That's a fantastic use of it. That's a good use of a large data model like that, because it assists and helps with a lot of these
I like
things.
the one that can detect heart diseases faster than anything else. I like the other ones that are detecting diseases and helping find cures. It's something that is used for good.
Because once again, the point of AI is to handle large amounts of data and kind of bring it down, like wrangle it in. Part of my job uses it in certain ways to handle large amounts of data, but we're not using like, these other like Chat GPT and stuff like that. These are normal functioning AI systems for that stuff. And that makes sense. It's not for people to go, "Oh, I wish I was an artist. I'll let this go steal their art and make me feel like I'm one." Because you're not. You can type okay. And even then, you probably still type stupidly and still can't get it right. Because it's not actual art. You're not making music. You're not doing this stuff.
You're directing it. And even that's a loose term.
Yeah. I mean, this is the poor example of someone cooking a microwave dinner and saying, "I'm a chef. I made this." You reheated what was already there. I guess if we want to get more like AI, you stole the meal from someone else and then cooked it.
I stole Gordon Ramsay's lasagna and I made it.
Right. That's about what AI is to me for most of the time, for how people use it. And I hate it. So
AI can't get any worse, can it?
good segue, because damn it, it did. So a company called Proto Hologram is creating a hologram of Stan Lee that will be at Comic-Con. This facsimile is designed to talk with event goers and to answer questions. So they're just dragging out the digital corpse of the great Stan Lee and just parading it around and making it say whatever it wants. Bob Savuni, head of Stan Lee legacy programs for Cartoon Studios and former Marvel executive, stated, quote, "Fortunately, with decades of footage capturing his thoughts on so many subjects, we can build a voice that stays true, not always word for word, but always faithful in spirit, context, and intent." End quote. They also want to
use the term spirit.
No shit. They also want to use the hologram to introduce panels and other such extra functions. Someone pointed out, like, who's going to go to this event and mess with it until we start getting AI daydreaming or whatever, or hallucinating as it is, and you're going to have Stan Lee ranting about some kind of racist thing or saying something absolutely horrible because it's not Stan Lee. I've got to see that man one time in person, and it wasn't even face to face. It's just we were at Comic-Con in 2012, I think, and Jeremy Jr. was there. No, it was 2010. 2010 is when we were there. Jr. was there interviewing. He was about 10 years old at the time, interviewing Art Balthazar, the guy who does Tiny Titans and everything, and his artist and all that. Great group of people. Absolutely loved him. And all of a sudden we stopped because there's this little group moving past us right by, and all of us, creators, fans, everyone just stopped in awe as Stan Lee walked by, and we're just like, "It's the king!" Like, just, it's like a royal procession as he went by. Yeah, we're just like all of us in awe. Nobody there, no matter how famous they were or what they were doing at that Comic-Con, everyone was in awe that he was there. That's how much reverence people held for Stan Lee, which makes this so much worse. Like, it's just, and he probably didn't agree to any of this, or later in life, his family members were making him sign just about anything. So if he did sign off on it, he may not have been aware what was going on or understand what was there, which is
It's like
it's elderly abuse. It was terrible.
It's like the people who run Bob Ross now. His son doesn't get any money.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, this is a whole thing that just bothers the living hell out of me, that creators and these type of people, like, you're talking about, you have all this footage and all this stuff for him. Cool. Play that. Let him say in his own words, his intent, his meaning, all of it. Use that. I think people would rather see those clips being played than trying to ask the soulless version of him, whatever dumb question it could come up with. Chris, you had any thoughts on this one?
There need to be new laws and new regulations for this kind of thing. And, right now there's a conflict of interest between money and ethics that may not be finished sometime soon. Let's just say
there's voice actor protections, but nothing really set in stone other than contracts for the recently passed or past.
Yeah, that kind of thing. There need to be more people who can figure this kind of thing out and make new proper laws for, a very quickly operating technology. That's always been the problem. Technology tends to improve faster than the laws that can control it.
And this is just absorbing all this stuff from people, whether they agreed to it or not, and just kind of regurgitating it out in a very twisted way. And just like you were saying earlier, kids believe whatever the AI says to be true. There's going to be people that, hear this thing regurgitate whatever it says, whatever they want Stan Lee to agree with or sign off on, or, even if he's presenting a panel that could be about something he never liked, and he'll be all excited and exuberant and, talking about it that he may not have wanted nothing to do with. And he never got to agree to this. You've got examples like James Earl Jones that we talked about earlier in the year, where his voice is being reused and done with AI, but he was fully aware of it and agreed to it and kind of set those terms. So he wanted Darth Vader to have his voice. And we had a back and forth about that, because that kind of stifles new voice actors for coming in and filling the role and things like that, which, I get that as well. But at least James was informed. It wasn't just poking and prodding at him at the end and, just making something after he's passed all this time later.
Who owns it now? I have to look it up. Whoever owns Accolade now, but it goes to say that they could make so much money right now, because with his new game and the collection out is to put out Bubsy pins of him just saying what could possibly go wrong. Like, take this to heart, Accolade. You could do great marketing with Bubsy 4D by just having pins, because that works in so many ways of what's going on in the world today, of what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, my worry is they're going to keep trying to find ways to just more and more grotesquely just try and, air quote, bring people back. Like, I'm just waiting for the day that someone's going to try and bring back Phil Hartman. People are already trying to push to do Robin Williams. They were, the moments they were alive, the stuff that they gave us, their words and everything, that was the gift that we had with that time. Anything more it tries to make is just twisting and turning that in such a disgusting way to me.
I think it can be done cheaply too, because I keep seeing commercials where they're talking to their younger AI self too.
Yeah. Which is,
I wouldn't say cheaply. It's accessible.
Well, okay, these are companies that I've never seen a commercial for, so I was like, where are you getting this money? Because since these programs are open to everybody, it can't be that expensive.
Yeah, but it's costing something different, something less immediately tangible in terms of
our environmental stability.
Yes. And it's costing electricity and water, but they'll handle that when it's too late.
they'll handle that one. They can move somewhere else and they'll be fine, but everyone else has to pay for it. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement. This is a really, really stupid thing, and they should just leave Stan Lee alone and let his own words and writing and creation speak for him, for himself, instead of trying to make an AI facsimile hollow shell of a person do it. So yeah, that's my feeling on it. I don't like it at all. All right. So next up, sadly, Robert Redford has passed away at 89. He was known for decades of film and television, ranging from his early appearances on the Twilight Zone TV series with film roles like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969, Jeremiah Johnson from 1972, which, hey kids, if you weren't aware, this is where the famous gif of him nodding and agreeing with stuff where he looks all like a wilderness guy out in the woods, that's where that came from. That was a real person. That's not AI. That is Robert Redford from 1972. And then he did All the President's Men in 1976, Sneakers in 1992, and so many more other films. I just ended up skipping over. Those are the big ones that I can mention, with his final one being where he reprised the role of Alexander Pierce in the 2019 Avengers Endgame that he had last done in the Captain America movie, Winter Soldier. So he was also director, producer, political activist on a lot of stuff. But it seems he went fairly peacefully from what I've read, so that's good. But yeah, I grew up seeing Robert Redford in so many different things, and he was so good at like political thrillers and a lot of that stuff I really enjoyed, that he will be missed. Were there any roles or anything you guys enjoyed from him or remember?
Gets to party with Paul Newman now.
There you go. Chris, what about you?
I don't remember offhand, but I'm near certain I've seen him in tons of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, he got around. Robert Redford was in so much stuff. So yeah, he'll definitely be missed in a lot of that. All right, our last story for tonight. So Tencent is pushing back against Sony, suing them over the Light of Motiram, whatever, with the argument that Horizon series wasn't original to begin with. Like, they are going left field in their arguments against Sony on this. So Tencent is trying to argue that the lawsuit doesn't have jurisdiction over them because Tencent Holdings is incorporated in the Cayman Islands and headquartered in China and are just the parent company of the actual developers. So they claim they haven't actually been served for this, which is a very weird take on that, going, well, we're based in this spot and there, and you're only going after this part, so you can't touch us. But then they go and say Tencent claims that since the game has has a Q4 2027 release date on Steam, so it is so far away, and say that no infringements have happened because the game isn't out yet and may never come out. So because that's the case, they're saying they can't be sued for it. Now, we talked about this earlier this year, and I think all of you have seen the post we had on Discord where we showed their art and what they were using for development versus what was on Horizon. And it was blatant. Like, they were copying character designs, creature designs, all kinds of things. Well, so they're wanting to they filed a motion to dismiss Sony's lawsuit, claiming this is a clumsy attempt for Sony to secure a corner of popular culture for themselves, and then claimed, quote, by suing over an unreleased project that merely employs the same time-honored tropes embraced by scores of other games released before and after Horizon, like Enslaved, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Far Cry Primal, Far Cry New Dawn, Outer Wilds, Biomutant, and many more, Sony seeks an impermissible monopoly on genre conventions, end quote. So they're trying to act like they're making a game like the style of what Horizon was in. So they're trying to make Sony look like the bad guys, claiming they're only suing them because they're making a similar style of game, ignoring the fact that they are blatantly stealing the art and design of the actual game. That's where the problem lies. They don't care if it's a third-person action adventure, or even, if you're fighting robots and stealth and hunting. Okay, happens all the time. But to have those robot dinosaurs and the red-haired main character in a very similar design suit in those similar environments. That's not stealing an idea. That's stealing like actual art design pretty blatantly. So I was going to see if you guys had any thoughts on this one as well, or Steven, do you have anything you want to say on it? Or
maybe they should get patents.
I was wondering if that was going to come up. Yeah, the Nintendo stuff is still crazy. I don't know. I get it. They're not trying to sue for the actual style of the game or what that game is. I think they're trying to deflect from the fact they've copied their art.
I just think they're deflecting so hard, and it's just like, if it's not coming out until 2027 and may never come out, then just alter your designs, change the colors. The fact that they're the same color is bad enough, and the fact that like people can match camera angles to the artwork and stuff, it's like, it's like that famous meme, like, can I copy your homework? Yeah, but don't make it obvious. They made it obvious. It's literally the meme.
Chris, you have any thoughts on this one?
I think it's part of a trend these days of people just seeing what they can get away with. That seems to be the thing lately. So, eventually, companies are trying to push back in one way or another. It really is a matter of seeing what sticks. So we will see.
Part of what intrigued me about this, I was looking at the reactions, because you see like when Nintendo has their lawsuits, which we've talked about, like they have a legal standing for a lot of these. We may not agree with all of them, but there is a legal basis for what they're doing. A lot of people just see, Nintendo's going after this other group. They must be the smaller group, so they're the underdog. We should root for them. Nintendo can go to hell, And I saw the same thing with Sony. People saying like PlayStation should, it should be ruined because, they added woke to Horizon and this other one's going to take it away and make it so much better. And they're going after little old Tencent, which, by the way, Tencent's one of the largest publishers in the world by an order of magnitude.
Whoever said little old Tencent should be banned from commenting.
Just because it sounds like a number you can't count to in money of 10 cents doesn't mean they're smaller. Okay. They are a much larger company. And, people are calling for all this stuff for them to lose the lawsuit and they should get to do whatever games they want. And it's like, you need to understand the actual creative protection of what they're making. There is a reason behind that. Like the whole thing with Nintendo between Pokemon and Power World, ups and downs for all of that, but the court's going to settle that. And Power World did kind of step on their toes a bit with some of what they were pushing on, but Power World is also changing some of what they're doing. So hopefully that'll end up in like a settlement or something. But this one, Tencent is taking this very intriguing double-edged sword where they're saying, one, you haven't actually served us because this corporation is actually based here and only oversees this part. And they're trying to kind of spiderweb themselves out, which they can only do because they're so damn large, by the way. If they were a smaller corporation, you wouldn't be able to do that as easily. And then on the flip side, try and make it out to like they're the little guy and trying to make Sony like the big bad villain who wants to own the whole idea of this style of game when that has nothing to do with it. So I don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous. This whole lawsuit for this year is going to turn out kind of crazy. I don't think we're going to see the end of it for a while though. Which I'm wondering if Tencent's just going to quietly cancel the game. They've already made some changes. Apparently the lead character that looks so much like Horizon's Aloy has kind of disappeared from their art now. So they might be trying to make these changes and point to it and go, well, we didn't have anything like it. It was never there. You never saw it. So just let us go from, we didn't do anything wrong. Who knows? All right, let's go to the speed run. So a quick update on Henry Cavill's injuries that we talked about before. He finally posted a picture of him hanging out at home, showing that while he did hurt his leg, he is just chilling out, hanging out with his dog and healing. So some people were wondering if, is this like the Superman curse with what happened with Christopher Reeves? People were trying to say like, it was a horse accident. Like he's not paralyzed. He's not mortally injured. It's just, he got hurt and he's having to wait. So he's fine.
He's painting Warhammer.
Oh, I'm sure he is. He's probably playing so much damn Warhammer. Next up, Nintendo is adding 2 third-party titles finally to their Game Boy Advance Classic service with Klonoa Empires of Dream and Mr. Driller 2, which is a lot of fun. I love that game. Those are coming out September 25th. My daughter actually found out about these before I did because she started all of a sudden asking Amanda and me about Klonoa for Game Boy Advance. And I was like, where did you hear about that? Like, I think I have it. I'll go find it. And it was like a whole day later before I saw the Nintendo trailer. Like, it was very under the radar. I'm like, okay, that was a weirdly quiet announcement. You think it would have been if they had, a large direct recently they could have added it into. Who knows? Next up, Microsoft's upcoming Xbox PC update is leaked early for different systems. Beyond the recent update, it started to merge different storefronts into the Xbox PC app, which I want to try and put on my Legion Go to give it a shot. I like where the update's already gone. When I open up Xbox on PC, it now shows all my installed games on Steam, Epic Games, GOG, and stuff like that I can crank up right from the Xbox app. I just need the updates where it will start that automatically, trim out a bunch of the background stuff on my Legion Go so it runs more efficiently, and I get better controller control over all of it. So, all right, Steven, I think you had a little bit more on that one. You want to do this next one?
Yeah, it was kind of cryptic what you showed with your Bayou Billy, because unfortunately Redford Gaming lost one of their heroes on Thursday.
Oh.
Billy Hudson from the Game Chasers sadly passed away from brain cancer. It all stemmed from he took a fall and hit his head, and when he went to the hospital, they found out he had a brain tumor. He posted from the hospital that he was trying to get better, and as of Thursday, he lost his battle. So there's been tributes all over there. That's why I was showing off the season and stuff. So people have been doing their tributes and such, because I wanted to mention them, because back when I just fell out of doing game hunts, they kind of revigorated it, seeing him and his friend Jay just go out and go to swap meets and garage sales and, just all those different conventions and such to see what they could find was always, the fact that they bought like some games that are worth a lot more now, they bought for like $5 and stuff. It was nice to see. So yeah, Retro Gaming got a hit this week.
Oh, that's
definitely 44.
Damn, that's definitely a sad one to hear. Hopefully his family and friends are doing all right with that. I know brain tumor is how I lost my little brother as well, so I know how that can proceed and how quickly things can change with that. So
yeah, it was quite a whirlwind month. So
yeah.
I was like, that sucks.
Damn. Well, sorry to hear that one. All right, so let's move over to the big question for this week. So, with the rising cost of gaming through tariffs and other issues, do you feel this could benefit gamers and developers by pushing to have them support older hardware for longer periods of time in an attempt to reach an existing market that is quickly pricing new and upgrading gamers out? I'll answer this one first because I know there was a little confusion over the setup for this. Basically, the idea is the fact that this is the first generation we're seeing where all of the current systems are a significant amount more than when they launched, which is usually not the case. Even back on our previous financial hardships back during the 360 and PS3 and the Wii, each of the companies came out with cheaper models of their systems that may have stripped out a few extra things, but the core gameplay was still there to try and budget that better for people. And now it's becoming to the point they're raising the costs on almost everything. I think out of every system that's out right now, the Switch 2 is the only one that has not gone up in cost yet. I'm not going to say that's not happening. They ended up doing it to the Switch to try and eat up part of that. Microsoft has had 2 updated prices, one we just talked about in the United States, and Sony has had like 3 worldwide so far, but only one of them's at the US at this point. There's usually other countries they would put it to. But I think our next generation of hardware is going to end up costing so much, and the increase of what we have now, that developers and gamers are going to kind of stick with what they have. So I think we're going to see more development push. Like, we're still seeing PS4 games coming out after all this time. Xbox One's been mostly dropped, but I still see occasional games coming out for that, even more rare, but still there. Switch still has really good support, and I can see that going for quite a while because there's a massive user base that's still there. And, Series X, Series S, PS5, Switch 2 are kind of being treated as enhanced versions of those games with backwards compatibility. So developers are trying to keep that cost down because it's cheaper for them to make games on it. They already have an existing group of people that they don't have to buy this hardware. There's a much more thriving aftermarket for these systems. We were talking about it earlier, Stephen, before the show, about, people can get older systems a lot cheaper sometimes, just buying them used from others that did upgrade, which keeps that market thriving. And, we had seen something similar with the 360 and PS3 where that market went for an extended period of time because they could not upgrade. And I'm hoping Microsoft and Sony don't try and push for new hardware too fast at this point, because they haven't really, there's a lot of life left in what they already have, with the Series X, S, and PS5 and PS5 Pro and all that if they try and jump to a PS6 already, I think they're going to price out the market. And when people can't afford to get these systems because of the rising cost of everything, developers aren't going to be as available to make games for them because the cost of those are going to go up, but the amount of people able to play them will drop significantly. And at that point, I think we will start seeing $100 or $100+ games come out, because they're going to try and make up that difference. And it's just too much money for people to kind of deal with. Steven, what about you? What are your thoughts on that one?
I think this is going to benefit Nintendo mostly. Only because even if you do save up enough and you just can finally afford a Switch 2, you pretty much have, of the 15,000 titles, and that's combining digital and physical, that they've been working on, you have such a robust library to fall back on. And the fact that a lot of those benefit from due to the hardware, bump in resolution, a bump in frame rate. So even games that you were like, oh, this didn't perform too well on my original Switch or on my friend's Switch, you're now incentivized, like, oh, if I get it for this, though, it'll probably run better. And in a lot of cases, it has.
Black Sad, we talked about earlier with Chris, was a good example of that.
There's entire YouTube channels now devoted to going through the libraries and telling you what runs really well now. And the fact is that, in terms of holiday seasons and adopting this stuff, even though they did do a price jump, they're still cheaper than the current systems with Microsoft and Sony, and Nintendo's the only one selling Switch 1 in stores as well as Switch 2. And I think that's where the boon's gonna come in, because it's benefiting developers to just develop for Switch 1, and taking the Tim Sweeney approach is make it on lower hardware and you can only go up from there. So the developers are like, oh, we'll make it for Switch 1, but then when everything's going good, we're going to announce there's a Switch 2 version. They just announced one for Lollipop Chainsaw, and they showed a trailer where everything looks and performs a lot better. So any game can get a bump, even ones that have been out or you don't think are going to get an update are getting them. And sometimes free, sometimes they're $1, sometimes they're $10 and $20. I think the $10 and $20 ones are more ones that are adding content, but a lot of the other ones, there's a very small barrier of re-entry or entry here. So I do think that it's not benefiting whoever's causing these tariffs, especially with elections coming up next year. So we'll see how that goes.
Keep that in mind, people.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you, or that that is giving you your entertainment. So now that's affecting you. But yeah, I don't really know yet whether you'd see people really suddenly having a sales surge in PS4s and Xbox Ones and such in like GameStops or other used stores, Goodwills or whatnot. But I think overall, because there's the new ones out there, so people can present them as gifts, I think the Switch One will hit a nice stride during this time period, because they have those available, and overall, it's just having the portability seems to be working too, because Steam Deck's still, full steam ahead. They're even having sales on theirs. So between that and Nintendo, I think they're in a pretty good spot. But even with today's news, Sony and Xbox have some work to do. Sony already said they're re-releasing the Slim with less hard drive space in order to try to cut the costs.
So we went back to the smaller drive. Great. All right. Chris, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
I think since the market and the global situation are both so volatile, I think that actually helped the Switch 2's, finances, because everybody just really wanted something fun and some good news. So, just seeing Nintendo being all happy, everyone's like, okay, finally, something nice. And they all bought Switch 2s, which is nice. But I think the idea of upgrading games that are already there will work for the people that had them, the classic Switch 1 owners, better than the people who bought the Switch 2. I feel like the upgrade packs are a better deal than the Switch 2 version complete of various games like Kirby and Zelda and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think for the longest time, people are going to be. It's gonna depend on what's already out. Some people are going to look back into emulation. They're going to go back to the games that may have inspired what they may not be able to afford right now. There are a lot of really good emulations for Metroid Fusion and Super Metroid if they can't get beyond. So, this may be a time for people to look back on stuff that they may not realize is the cause of what's happening now in terms of gaming. So we'll see.
That's a good point on that, for emulation making a big return, and a lot of it never really went away, but there's a lot of people that, because gaming has become so expensive, that emulation is a legitimate way for them to enjoy it. And I think it's still fine for most stuff. Like, it is a good tool for preservation. Most people are, if you're emulating stuff, you're emulating much older games that are still worth playing. And you brought up a really good point there with the different versions of Metroid and stuff. Like, Prime 1, 2, and 3 have got really good versions specifically done on Dolphin that you can get online that enhance how they look. They play really well. They give you different control options, which are really solid ways to enjoy those if you can't afford to get a Switch or a Switch 2 at the moment to play these upcoming ones. So
good games don't just disappear. They may be out of the limelight, but they're still there for people who can find them, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. Well, I think that was kind of a fun one for that. So we'll go ahead and end that. So yeah, we've actually managed to keep this show under an hour versus last week's 3+ hours of entertainment. But I kind of figured we'd have a shorter, light week this week with everything going on. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and wrap up episode 189 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast. Thank you once again to Stephen for joining me, as well as Chris. It's good to have you back.
No problem.
Yeah, but it's nice when you can show up on occasion. And once again, hopefully Chase will get to feeling better, and we'll have him back here with us next week. But until then, we're out. Peace.
That's the way game chasing go.
This has been a production of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast by the staff at zenspath.com. The show is created and edited by Jeremy Powers. You can find the video edition of the show on our YouTube channel at ZenspathCom. The audio edition is located wherever you find your podcasts. Links to all versions of the show, as well as to our Discord where you can talk with us directly, is located at www.zenspath.com. Please leave us a like, thumbs up, comment, and review where you can to help us grow.